I will introduce 3 ways that people can protect themselves from being a victim of CHIKAN. Again, for those of you who are willing to come to Japan someday, this is surely going to be the most important part of this video. 皆さんこんにちは and welcome to Let's Ask Shogo. You might have an image that Japan is a very safe country with hardly any crimes. But if you take a closer look, the reality might be a little different. One of the things that is especially frightening is the molestation on trains, called CHIKAN in Japanese, which is often brought up as a social problem. It is said that Japan has the most number of CHIKAN incidents in the whole world. However, to be completely honest with you, it never occurred to me to talk about this until I received a request for a video about this topic. In order to make this video, I did quite a lot of studying. And now I am very serious that I want to share with you what I've learned and want everyone to be able to protect themselves from these crimes. So today, I will talk about the current situation of CHIKAN, molestation on trains in Japan, and also why there are so many incidents. Also, at the end of the video, I'll explain 3 things you can do to protect yourselves from these criminals. So if you're hoping to come to Japan someday in the future, please be sure to watch this video till the end. It would also be great if you can share in the comments about what your thoughts are on how to prevent or lessen these terrible crimes. And even if you get confused somewhere during the middle, that's okay. I will summarize everything at the end of the video in today's conclusion. それでは本日も参りましょう。First of all, let's talk about the definition of CHIKAN in Japan and what the current situation of molestation on trains is like. Originally, the word CHIKAN referred to any kind of sexual crime. However, when we use this word today, it automatically has the nuance of the act of molestation on trains or the molesters in general. Unfortunately, how we deal with problems of CHIKAN are all up to the local police of each city. So the definition is different everywhere. In this book, the author introduces the local rules in Niigata Prefecture and what's written in its article, because the definition is specified compared to other cities. The definition of molestation is indecent acts of coming into direct contact with the body or from over the clothes. The author points out that the ambiguous definitions and the fact that there are no integrated crackdown laws already represents how sloppy this severe problem is handled in Japan. Next, let's take a look at the number of incidents of CHIKAN according to the data presented by the police. However, this is actually not an easy task because many of these sexual violence cases are not reported to the police. According to a survey taken in 2010, about 90% of women who have experienced CHIKAN within the past 1 year said that they did not report to the police. In 2017, the police presented data saying that the number of CHIKAN incidents was 3,212, which means only about 10 cases happened every day. It would be great if this was true, but taking a look at the number of incidents of cars being stolen in the same year, it was 10,213. 3 times more people are having their cars stolen than the number of victims of CHIKAN. You can understand that's impossible. Because, for example, I asked 30 of my Japanese female friends whether or not they have experienced molestation in Japan before, and 28 people answered that they have experienced it at least once before in their lives. The reason why the number is so small is not just because the victims do not report to the police, but also because even if you go to the police, only the cases that meet the following conditions will be counted. 1. The victim filed a claim. 2. The molester is identified. 3. The investigation necessary for setting punishments was completed. It is believed that only about 1/3 of the victims who report to the police are actually included in the presented number of incidents. Please note though that I'm talking about the number of CHIKAN incidents counted by the local anti-nuisance ordinance, and any other more severe crimes will be regarded as indecent assault, the national criminal law. Only 1/10 of the victims report to the police in the first place, and only 1/3 of the victims who do report are counted in the number of incidents. It's very frightening, but the actual number might be around 100,000 incidents a year. So the fact that managing the problems of CHIKAN are left to each local police and laws, and the fact that the number of incidents are not accurate at all, we can understand that this problem is seen as just CHIKAN. Many politicians and police officers do not realize how horrifying the experience of becoming a victim of CHIKAN is, and how it can easily leave scars and traumas in people's hearts. This attitude of the leaders of this country might actually be the biggest problem. Next, let's talk about why there are so many CHIKAN incidents in Japan. However, I need to make it very clear that there are many different studies and theories, all by professionals, about how and why this problem happens and how to prevent it. I've read 2 of these books and more than 10 articles written by professionals, but their opinions often contradict with each other. So please understand that I'm just sharing with you some ideas, and this is not an absolute answer. Out of many factors, I would like to pick up 4 things that are most often introduced. 1. The overpacked trains. 2. The huge pornography industry. 3. Japan is a sexless country. 4. Women can't speak out. 1. The overpacked trains. The first reason is a very realistic one. Some data show that about half of all CHIKAN incidents in Japan are happening in Tokyo because of the overpacked trains. You might have seen videos of the station staff literally pushing people into the train. On these trains, you will hardly be able to move your body. And one of my female friends told me she would often be floating from the floor. So even if someone was touching your body, you will not be able to identify who it is. And there is no way you can stop the criminal. Some doctors point out that committing CHIKAN can become a kind of addiction, and the overpacked trains are one of the reasons why the criminals take the risk to commit their first crime. From there, just like a person gets more and more addicted to alcohol and cigarettes, it'll become more and more difficult to quit. Doctors point out that Japan needs to change its social system of everyone going to work at the same time in the morning in order to prevent this from happening. Maybe shifting from clinging on to our old business rules and taking in new systems like working from home or flexible working hours might be a good start. However, although this could be one of the reasons, there are some people who point out that there are many other countries with similar situations of overpacked trains, especially during morning rush hours. But it doesn't always mean that that country will have many incidents as Japan. So again, it's just one of the possible reasons and not an absolute one. 2. The huge pornography industry. Japan has a huge pornography industry, which you may also know from the hentai culture. Out of the many genres of these stories in anime, manga, and videos, there are some that are about CHIKAN too. It's very disgusting, but there are some men who believe these fiction settings to be true, and some seriously believe that women are enjoying the thrill too. However, Japan of course is not the only country with a pornography industry. But why does Japan have especially more people who misunderstand fiction to reality? There are 2 reasons that are often discussed. 1. The inequality between men and women. 2. The lack of education at schools. As I've explained in my past video, Japan is ranked 121 out of 156 countries around the world for gender equality. And there are many old beliefs that women are meant to provide service to men, which leads to the idea that they are a form of entertainment. Next, the lack of education about sex and sexual crimes at schools are believed to be the reason why many men misunderstand women. Since the end of World War II, in order for the government to emphasize sexual ethics in a chaotic situation, they promoted the abstinence-only sex education and created the culture of talking about sex is a taboo. We are taught about the existence of sperms and egg cells and that they fertilize, but nothing about how it happens. And of course, hardly anything about contraceptive methods or how to protect ourselves from sexual crimes either. Lack of knowledge or the misunderstanding about the other sex is believed to be one of the reasons why some people can't distinguish what's fiction and what's reality. 3. Japan is a sexless country. According to the data presented by Direx, only 34% of Japanese people answered that they have sex more than once per week, and only about 45 times a year on average. In 2020, it was presented that more than 51.9% of married couples have not had any sexual contact for more than a year. Many say that this is because of the longest average working hours in the world. Japanese people don't have the time and energy for sex. However, this doesn't mean that the desire is gone. And with the combination of the two other reasons I've already explained, Japan especially has more CHIKAN incidents compared to other countries. However, we need to keep in mind that although this is another theory supported by many people, there are doctors and scientists like the author of this book that state CHIKAN and sexual desire do not have a strong connection. As I've explained earlier, many people are addicted to the act from the feeling that they are doing something wrong and that they are in a superior position than the person you're committing the crime against. So in a way, you can say that the stress from overtime work could lead to more CHIKAN, but for a different reason. 4. Women can't speak out. This reason comes from the Japanese characteristic of not wanting to stand out from its groupism culture. If you'd like to learn more about this characteristic, you can take a look at my past videos. I could just line up the facts, but I think it'll be easier to imagine if I introduce a real-life experience shown in this book. I became a victim of CHIKAN in a month of working as a police officer. When I was sitting on the seat next to the door, a man wearing a suit sat next to me and spread out his newspaper. I knew from the very first moment this was strange because the train was vacant and there was no reason for him to sit next to me. Hiding himself using the newspaper, he started to touch my body. My mind went completely blank from fear, and I couldn't move or think straight at all. I just hoped that someone would come up and stop this man, or at least realize that something was wrong. But it seemed that no one cared, and even those who glanced at me for 1 second, they would just look away on the second. Finally, when I realized that the next station was where I had to get off, I was finally able to put myself together. I was able to summon the courage to say, "Please get off at the next station with me," to the man. He stood up without saying a word, and the moment the train got to the station and the doors opened, he ran away as fast as he could. I, of course, tried to chase him, but I was wearing my suit with a tight skirt and heels, and there was no way I could run as fast as that man. Luckily, my boss was riding the same train and he caught the criminal for me. But at that moment, I realized that everyone was staring at me, running and yelling the whole time, and I noticed my clothes were all messy too. I was terrified to think that I'd be riding the same train with these people from tomorrow on. Afterwards, I was taken to a police office and there I was asked many questions by my senpai male police officers about the incident to make a police report to arrest the molester. However, the questions included how specifically I was touched, where I was touched, with which finger, for how long. An abstract like this with body language will not be considered proof, and I need to explain the whole horrifying experience in my own words to the male police officers there. The worst part of it was that I couldn't answer the questions. Why didn't you resist sooner? And why didn't you run? The answer was simply because I was too scared to do anything. It was the best I could do. However, not resisting immediately will be seen as the woman has agreed, accepted the act, and it will be a negative point on my side. Finally, the policeman asked me, "Would you like to sue this man?" At a moment there, I didn't understand what he meant. I was the victim, and I called the police because I needed help. But it seems that the final judgment of arresting him or not was somehow my decision, and I felt that everything that the man will be suffering and how his whole life would change are somehow because I made the decision. At this point, I was just too tired, and all I could say was, "No, it's okay." The next day, I found out that my rumors have spread throughout the whole police office I was working at, and from there, I will be called the CHIKAN policewoman for years. This story is just one example, but you can understand that there are some fundamental problems why it's so difficult for women to speak up about what they've suffered. 1. CHIKAN is seen as no big deal, and arresting someone for it is considered fussing. 2. The victims don't want to make a scene in front of everyone they will be riding the same train together with every day. 3. The victims are afraid of being revenged by the molesters. 4. It's difficult for women wearing skirts or heels to chase a male CHIKAN if they run away. 5. You will have to tell the police officers very specifically about how the crime happened. 6. If you get late to school or work because of CHIKAN, no one will help you. 7. You will be seen as a pervert from others because of the pornography settings. However, this is just a side of the story of women, and there are the men's stories too, of them getting caught for false charges. So, what did you think about the story I introduced? How would you think the people in your society react to such a situation? Please let me know in the comments. Then lastly, I will introduce 3 ways that people can protect themselves from being a victim of CHIKAN. Again, for those of you who are willing to come to Japan someday, this is surely going to be the most important part of this video. 1. Avoid riding certain cars and places on the train. 2. Ride the woman-only cars. 3. Keep the CHIKAN prevention badge with you. There are certain cars or areas within the train that can make you especially vulnerable to CHIKAN. 1. The cars closest to the ticket gate. It will be easier for the molesters to run away. 2. The train's connection areas. Other passengers will be harder to see if there's anything going on. 3. The area near the doors. One side of your body is blocked and cannot be seen by others, so it's easier for CHIKAN to happen and for the molesters to run away. In other words, avoid the edges of the train and try to stand in the middle as much as possible, and near other women would be even better. If the train you're going to ride has a woman-only car, it's best you choose this car to lower the risk of encountering a CHIKAN. Recently, there has been something called the CHIKAN badge that has been gathering attention since 2015. And it says, "CHIKAN is a crime and I will accuse you of this," or "I am not afraid to report CHIKAN to the police." It was invented by a high school girl who was suffering from CHIKAN almost every day and crying as she went to school. But after she started putting handmade badges on, she hardly experienced any chikan anymore. As an experiment, 70 high school girls put this on for 9 months, and 94.3% of them answered that it was effective. I really hope that these kind of inventions will develop even more in the future. Japan as a society must improve its insufficient education at schools, as well as the culture of overtime work to stop these crimes from happening in the first place. As a father of 2 daughters living in Japan, I'm quite serious about this problem, and I'm willing to do everything I can to try to fight it. Then lastly, today's conclusion. Japan is believed to have the highest number of chikan incidents in the world. Although the police reported that there were 2,212 incidents in 2017, according to a different survey, it was announced that only 10% of victims report the crimes to the police, and only 1/3 of the reported incidents are counted because some do not meet the circumstances. There are many different reasons why there are so many chikan incidents in Japan. 1. The overpacked trains. 2. The huge pornography industry and a lack of education. 3. Japan is a sexless country due to overwork time. 4. Women cannot speak out because of the groupism society. I introduced 3 ways people can protect themselves from becoming a victim of chikan. 1. Avoid riding certain cars and places on the train. 2. Ride the woman-only cars. 3. Keep the chikan prevention badge with you. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If this video helped you to learn about a different side of Japan, please hit the like button to help me boost this video to more people. And my goal is to achieve 1 million subscribers by January 2023, and your help is what I need. In this channel, you can take a closer look at Japanese traditional culture, tips on traveling to Kyoto, and social problems in Japan. So learners and lovers of Japanese language and culture, be sure to subscribe to enjoy more content. And please check out our sub-channel and membership through the link inside the description box. Thanks again, and I'll see you in my next video. どうもありがとうございました。So studying to make this video really helped me to realize that this problem of chikan is really connected to a lot of the social problems in Japan, including the lack of education, the Japan being a sexless country, the groupism, culture, society, yes. And I really want to study more about this, definitely. As I said, yes, because I have 2 daughters. And I really hope that someday I'll be able to interview the authors of these books or the professionals who are fighting towards solving this problem.